hold on tight, because Deadliest Catch is back with Season 21's Episode 6, and this one is a gut-wrenching edge of your seat ride through haunted Alaskan ghost towns, heart-stopping Coast Guard delays, and a wild search for hidden gold in the frozen seas. We're talking massive risk, boatloads of money hanging in the balance, ancient family secrets, and of course, the kind of stomach-churning danger that only the Bering Sea can serve up. Let's break down every twist, every dicey decision, and explain how this wild episode comes together. Things kick off with Rick, who's out in Adak Island, an eerie, abandoned military base in the farthest reaches of Alaska. He's walking through derelict, creaking buildings, the kind of place you'd absolutely expect a jump scare at every turn. Rick jokes it's like every horror movie he's ever seen, especially if he has to sleep in one of these rundown buildings. But there is one modern comfort in Adak, a McDonald's, which makes him laugh since he's more of a Burger King kind of guy. Still, that's about the only thing that isn't dripping with unsettling vibes. But there's real history here too. Back in the 1940s, Adak was booming. The US military built a massive base, but after WWI, it all wound down, leaving a ghost town. That's when the crab industry moved in. Rick's grandfather, Lee, was one of the first crabbers to pioneer these seas, and Rick feels the weight of generations as he hopes to dig up some long-lost family secrets, maybe even a gold mine of crab. But the present is brutal. Out on the water, Rick and his crew are pulling up one empty, pitiful crab pot after another. There's frustration in the air, fuel costs are through the roof, time is money, and every wasted minute stings. Even the legendary Sig, running the Aleutian Lady, is finding slim pickings. They know the crab are out there, somewhere, but it's like chasing ghosts. And with fuel and time running out, spreading out too far just isn't an option. Rick and Sig start talking on the radio, feeling each other out, wondering if either has a trick up their sleeve. Sig tells Rick to dig into his family's old records. Maybe there's some nugget of wisdom left behind from Grandpa Lee. Cautious, Rick admits he doesn't trust Sig completely. Old rivalries never die on these waters, but maybe, just maybe, a partnership will pay off. Meanwhile, tension spikes for Jonathan, captain of the Time Bandit, who's racing to offload a massive catch. He's got less than 22 hours to make it to the cannery before they bump him to the back of the line, which could cost him $500,000 worth of fresh crab. Worse, the Coast Guard suddenly shows up right when he can least afford a delay. They insist on a full-blown safety inspection, paperwork, permits, the whole shebang. Jonathan is polite but fuming. Every extra hour is more crab at risk of dying, more thousands of dollars he could lose. Finally, after what feels like forever, the Coast Guard lets him go. And then Neil, the crew's resident MacGyver, gets creative. In a stroke of desperation and brilliance, he helps rig a makeshift sail on the boat, trying to catch every knot of wind and claw back whatever time they can. It's just the kind of classic Deadliest Catch move that sees grizzled fishermen gambling everything on a bit of ingenuity. Back in Adak, Rick finally tracks down his grandparents' old house, and it's like stepping into a perfectly preserved time capsule. Dust, the stench of abandonment, and random relics everywhere, old shirts, pants, and more importantly, family logbooks and decades-old navigational charts. He strikes gold. Charts with Grandpa Lee's cryptic notes, all the best old king crab spots, secret depth curves and landmarks from days gone by. Rick can barely contain his excitement. This isn't just memorabilia, it's a possible jackpot. On the other side, Sig is inspired too. He remembers some of the spots his own dad used to fish, and with Rick's found data, the two compare notes. They figure out that 65 fathoms seems to be the magic depth, a number showing up again and again in both sets of logs. Together, they agree to try their luck in a narrow gully, sharing the precious little inside knowledge they have. There's a bit of banter, plenty of suspicion, but this is make or break stuff for both crews. While all this is happening, Jonathan finally arrives near the tiny cannery harbor, but it's a nightmare scenario. 10, then 18, then 20, 5-foot surf is smashing against a channel barely wide enough for their huge boat. The guys debate, risk it all for a shot at offloading those crabs, or wait and maybe lose it all anyway as the seas build. Jonathan makes the call to play it safe, turning away from the deadly surf, literally putting the lives of his crew and their entire fortune above the desperate urge to rush in. A couple hours delay might cost them some profit, but one wrong move could end it all in disaster. Now, with the weather dying down, Jonathan and his team steel themselves and make another run for the narrow harbor. It's still hair, raising T-wild currents, shallow bars, tiny margins for error. One slip, and the boat could flood or beach, the entire season lost. It's pure adrenaline, chaos in the wheelhouse. But they push through, hearts pounding, and finally, gloriously, dock those crab-laden decks, the whole crew whooping and cursing in relief. Back on the hunting grounds, Rick and Sig drop their gear, threading the needle with their combined family wisdom. They let as many pots fly as they dare, knowing they only have this one shot. Moments later, first pulls come up, and boom, it's loaded with crab. 50, 60 count pots, the dream. Both crews are shouting, high-fiving, even Rick, usually restrained, is impressed. It feels like a time machine, stepping back into a golden era, the promise of a rebounding fishery that might just save them all. Sig and Rick both acknowledge this wasn't just luck, all those years of family sweat, those old hand-written notes, they made the difference. Jonathan finally gets his crab offloaded, just barely late but none too worse for wear. The 500 Halsen worth of catch is safe, and even with all the near catastrophes, the crew is on cloud 9. Wrapping up, this episode is all about risk and reward, the courage to trust old wisdom, and the humility to work together when the stakes couldn't be higher. Haunted houses and haunted fishing grounds, ancient rivalries and new partnerships, near disasters narrowly avoided. Episode 6 brings everything Deadliest catch fans crave, plus a sense that maybe, just maybe, the tides are starting to turn for the battered king crab fleet. So what do you think? Were Rick and Sig right to trust their family history? Or did they get lucky this time? Do you think Jonathan should have pushed the risky harbor entrance any harder? Or was it a genius move to play it safe? Sound off below. Let us know your wildest, deadliest catch predictions. And don't forget to slam that like button, drop a comment, share with your fellow crabbers, and hit subscribe for all your Bering Sea breakdowns. We'll see you on the next one.